30 minutes. That's how long Brian Johnson spent in a room with Elias Pettersson to try and fix the most expensive problem here in Vancouver. The details of that conversation were revealed by Johnson himself, and they reveal a GM who is throwing the traditional tough love playbook out the freaking window that the previous regime had used and, of course, ended up not working. But with $92 million and $11.6 million over the next 6 years on the line, can the Canucks afford to be this patient? Let's break down the meeting that will define the next 6 years of this franchise. So we're going to actually take a look at an article from my good friend, my good buddy, Tyson Cole over at Canucks Army. He writes some great stuff. So shout out to Tyson Cole for this piece. And of course, he says here, the title, Canucks GM Ryan Johnson outlines a very open and honest conversation with Elias Pettersson. Now, this whole open and honest conversation, a lot of fans are probably not going to like where Ryan Johnson is coming from, because they feel as though, he's not done what he's supposed to do, and you shouldn't, quote unquote, baby him. And that he perhaps does need that tough love. But as I mentioned in the opening, that clearly did not work. So on Tuesday morning, Vancouver Canucks GM Ryan Johnson, of course, as we all know, held a press conference to mainly welcome Manny Malhotra as the next head coach. And while most of the discussion centered on Manny Malhotra and why he's the right coach to lead the Canucks with their rebuild towards the end of it, Johnson was asked a follow-up question on whether he has now spoken with Elias Pettersson, something he was asked in his first press conference, and he mentioned in that one that he hadn't had a chance to talk to Pettersson yet, but since then, he has actually been able to have a conversation with them, and in his latest availability, Johnson said, or he said in the first one that he hadn't, but he did mention that he had been able to speak to him and had a very open and honest conversation with Elias Pettersson. And this is exactly what Ryan Johnson said. I had a great conversation with Petey. I really enjoyed being able to just talk very openly and honestly about my feelings about his process and some of the adversity and some of the challenges. And there's a lot of them based on the time he's been here, but I wanted to hear him speak. I wanted him to be able to speak without judgment, that he knew I was there to listen and not to judge, or to allow him just to speak openly and freely. I think the biggest thing, whatever happens here moving forward, is that I just wanted him to know that I was very comfortable with him just being himself. Now, that specific part of that quote, just being himself, again, Canuck fans are probably not going to like that. But if you guys remember back to when Rick Tocchet was here, remember how there was that whole thing about, he wants to reprogram Pettersson? He wants to reprogram his brain? Ryan Johnson is not doing that here. And I don't think Manny Malhotra is going to do that either, just based off of how we know Ryan Johnson operates. And we know Manny Malhotra is the same character guy like Ryan Johnson. So Manny Malhotra is not going to try to reprogram Elias Pettersson's brain like Rick Tocchet tried to do. And as I mentioned already as well, clearly that didn't work. So they're going with a different approach when it comes to Pettersson. And again, fans are probably not going to like it, but hey, may as well see if it works. They've tried a certain way. They've tried the tough love way. That didn't end up working. Maybe this way will actually work. And who knows? But adding on to what Ryan Johnson said, I told him whatever communication, I'm not going to ask him or put an expectation on him to be something other than that he isn't. Again, Canuck fans are not going to like that he's not putting an expectation on him. I can already see the comments already. People are not going to like that. And that's okay. And that he and I can work together in any capacity. We may ask things of him, but we're not going to ask him to do it outside of really who he feels the core of what he is. Again, Canuck fans are not going to like that. But me personally, I'm okay with them taking this approach. I mean, like I keep saying, the, tough love part didn't work. Maybe this part will work. I thought that was a very good to establish early. I enjoyed our conversation. It was pleasant and very informational, I think, for both of us, and excited just to move forward. I thought it was a great, 20 minutes, half hour of just being able to talk without expectations. I need you to be this. I need you to be that, which is obviously what the message was to Pettersson with the previous regime. It wasn't that. It was more of what he could understand of how I manage, how I would communicate, and how I intend to treat people in general. Now, of course, we all heard what Ryan Johnson said at his opening press conference when he was initially named the new GM. He did say, if you don't, do what I ask, and if you're not able to do that, he said he will, without hesitation, be like, we need to ship you out. So perhaps that could even happen when it comes to Pettersson, but who knows? Who knows? Just wanted to throw that little wrench in there. Now, of course, we all know about Pettersson's struggles and whatnot, having to live up to that massive 8-year, $92.6 million extension he signed back in 2024. We are, of course, already 2 years into that extension. We have 6 years left, but I am remaining optimistic that he could perhaps change, and maybe the tandem of Ryan Johnson, the Sedins, and even Manny Malhotra might be able to save Pettersson's career, and he might be able to not necessarily go back to being that 102-point player, but at least be better than what he's been the last 2 years. And he could at least get to maybe 90 points, or like maybe not 95. But I do think 102 points is a bit of a stretch, or even, surpass that. I'm not going to get my hopes up for that, but at least better than what he has been the last 2 years. Now, it says here, after the very open and honest conversation with Johnson, Pettersson hopefully has a clear mind and can focus this summer on bouncing back to form that earned him the largest contract in Canucks history. I completely agree with Tyson there on that. Hopefully, this going at it this way gives Pettersson a little peace of mind. We know what he's gone through in his personal life. I'm not going to really bring that up too much, but we know what he's dealt with off the ice. And, again, it's also on Pettersson to come into camp shape. Perhaps if he doesn't do that, maybe that's when Ryan Johnson is like, hey, we asked you to come into camp shape. We expect this of you, even though he just said he wasn't going to do that. But, things could change between now and, of course, training camp. But I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you guys agree with Ryan Johnson's, approach being, throwing tough love out the window? Some of you might agree with it. Some of you may not. Let me know down in the comment section down below what you guys think. And if you guys enjoyed this video, on your way out, you can like the video and subscribe to The Line Change for more Canucks and draft-related content. I got a bunch of content lined up for the off-season. Hopefully I can get some guests lined up. I have already been talking to some people, so be on the lookout for that. Also, you can also become a member of The Line Change by hitting that join button, and it allows you to get exclusive perks, members-only videos, as well as early access to videos such as like this one that you're watching right now. But before I sign off, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, which, as I always say, is, of course, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has a new customer offer. When the ice gets coldest, the best players in the world show you exactly who they are. Playoff warriors turn it up round by round, and DraftKings turns it up with them from the first round all the way to the Stanley Cup final. Bet player props, bet live from the opening faceoff to the final horn. Every moment matters. New DraftKings customers bet just $5 and you'll get $100 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN so you're ready for the moment. That's code THPN. Turn $5 into $100 in bonus bets instantly in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer.
Once again, Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.